standardized iPad. These ones will work. Haha, it's a building.
Hi, I'm Pox.
I'm Couch Guy.
And you're watching the Two Smart Guys show.
And today we're talking about green screen.
Yes, we got a great show, a good show.
Fantastic show.
You're just gonna have your eyes.
I have to say, no, I like this show because you know what? It's stuff that lots of people are doing video casts anymore. Nobody wants to see their own existence. Everyone wants to put their own logo or something behind them. And frankly, getting those things printed behind you is expensive.
Yeah, and sets are expensive.
Sets are very expensive.
And
especially since you want to change them every 3 months.
Right.
Yeah.
Hence the virtual set or the green screen. So that's what we're going to be covering today.
Yeah, we're coming to you live from our library.
Yes.
It's from 1910.
Yes, library. What about out back? What do we got out back?
I think I want to go to Oregon.
Oregon?
Yeah. So
okay.
Give me a second. Yeah, I think I want to go to Oregon.
Wait, where's Oregon?
Oregon is right next to where we are in the library.
Oh, okay.
All right, so
cool.
See this? Now I'm in Oregon. Okay, so you can see where the possibilities. Now there are some rules in order to play with green screen that try not to make people sick. One of them is the perspective. If you have, I chose this shot because it kind of looks like I could be standing here and, not be too out of place. All right, let's go back to the library.
Back to the library?
Yeah.
Back to the library.
And the same thing with this one. It basically looks like I'm sitting in a library and we're kind of sitting elevated. I chose black and white on purpose just so it would look obscure in terms of where we're at. But in terms of how it is, we could be a little bit smaller. It could be a little bit bigger, but it's not, out of the way bad.
Yeah, so this is what it really looks like.
Yeah, that's us right now.
And thankfully, Chroma Key software has gotten better. And if you look behind Couch Guy here,
we have cracks in the wall.
Yeah, we had some actors literally run into the wall several times, and they broke it.
Yeah. So
that's
a patch job.
That's how that works.
Yeah. All right. So Chroma Key, how it works is that we'll just say all video, just for the sake of argument right now. All video runs off 3 primary colors, and they're not the same colors you learned in art class. They're red, blue, and green. Any of these core colors that create television, and I know that you're watching this on the internet, but to create television, because we have to use a camera which operates on that kind of scale, any of those 3 colors you can chroma key. The problem being is our entire Earth has 2 primary colors, green and blue, and then the human runs mostly red. Okay, so in terms of we're pink, it doesn't matter what color we are. We could be brown, purple, white. It doesn't matter. We're still a pink-based human. Yeah. So red doesn't really work well as a chroma key, so that's why we use blue and green. Green is a little bit nicer so that we can wear we're dressed. Everything in the set's blue, so that would not work well for us. No, not at all.
Now I was told that for film, blue worked better, and for video, green worked better.
I don't think it matters.
You don't think it really matters?
Because green, I think it just depends on the taste.
Because 300 was done on blue screen.
Yeah, absolutely, and they switch back and forth. I think maybe different film stocks.
Sin City was digitally shot, and they did green screen.
Yeah.
Same with Star Wars 1, 2, and 3.
Well, and Avatar was done on both. So it was, but it was done digitally. I'm trying to think.
A lot of that was motion capture too.
Yeah. Well, I would say in terms of things like that, they had all sorts of stuff. So, yeah. The point is that green or blue, either one can work. So when we say green screen, we just mean chroma key. Okay. We have a lower third that it's gone.
Well, that's just for our intro.
That's just for that.
They're aware of what's going on now, unless
That's good.
Well, I guess unless they're watching, they're just tuned in.
Okay.
On the live stream.
So the point is that the preference is yours. Just pick one and stick with it, because once you choose it, you start dictating wardrobe, sets, and other things that you interact with. For instance, our table, things like that. If we suddenly switch to a blue background overnight, decide to paint it differently, we would have to redo a lot of this.
Yeah.
So that's the biggest reason. You just pick one and stay with it. Now they come in like what, 3 or 4 different flavors?
Yeah, there's different types of Chroma Key screening.
We have behind us, this is a painted wall. Okay. Primarily, the idea is to try and have a smooth, they call it a cove, surface. This allows for a seamless between the floor and the
yeah, you don't want shadows.
Yeah, you don't want shadows.
You don't want harsh edges.
We'll talk about that when we're talking about lighting. Let's talk about what kind of surfaces.
Okay.
So you can have a fabric surface, which is what we were using during the winter set, was a fabric surface. And you know what? Frankly, it wasn't pulled very tight. It was just kind of put up so we could keep doing the show.
It was literally hanging from the back wall.
Yeah,
if we would have like pulled it tighter,
and things like that, and you could see that sometimes when we were.
And it's hard getting fabric that big. I mean, I ordered the biggest fabric you could buy, and you still had to sew it together to get as big as I wanted it to be.
Yeah.
So it's.
Now the two different the biggest things when you're working with this stuff is, this really, as much as people argue with you, isn't paint you can go down to Ace or Home Depot and pick up.
That is what we're using behind us, though.
Well, in the corner it is.
No, the whole thing is.
No, it's not. You have Roscoe paint in here.
No, I don't.
You don't have any Roscoe paint?
No. Remember the batch I bought from you was bad.
That's right. I sat in my garage too long.
I had them color match it, though.
Did you?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so there's a reason why you want to use Roscoe paint or whoever real green screen paint versus other paint. Obviously, it does work with the other paint. The biggest reason is true green screen paint is something like 60 to 80% pigment. It's a thicker paint. It doesn't dry quite the same. It's a lot thicker on laydown. It has no gloss at all, and which is something you have to remember. If you're going to do this at home and you're going to use Home Depot Ace paint, you have to make sure it's a completely flat surface with no reflective in it, because that's the one thing that will automatically kill your key, is any reflections. The one that we're running back here, you can tell there's nothing reflecting. Like, we're shooting lights at it, the same as you can see on our laptops and everything
the part
else.
behind me that's perfectly flat. It looks pretty good. There's literally some spray paint patch job behind us.
You see this back here? That's just because it didn't match. But you know, see what? It's the same color, but it works. Okay. So it has to be flat. When you're doing there's a couple different kinds of fabrics. There's what would you describe the fabric you have?
I don't know how to describe it.
It's almost like a canvas, but it's softer than a canvas. It's kind of like if you had denim that was that color, just because durability wise,
it's close to a jean-like material.
Yeah, it's kind of close to a denim, but it's really, in that case, there's no sheen to it at all. The other one I've worked with is really furry. It's almost like felt.
Oh yeah, like velvet.
Yeah, very, very much so. And the whole reason behind it is it absorbs light. It has no reflective properties at all. But that's super expensive.
Yeah, it's expensive and it's harder to maintain.
Yeah, it goes up and you don't touch it again. Just a second. I gotta think about it. There's
the pop-up ones that you can buy. The
little road kits and things like that, which are just meant to have just you in. It's the interview version where you're doing documentaries, you're shuttling people through a hotel room or some nasty office or something like that, where you're just doing interviews and you don't want to have the same background, so you throw just up a green screen. That's kind of the same thing as either the canvas material. You've seen one. You've done more looking at it than I have. I don't really like it. Tell them about your blue ring thing.
Oh yes, there's a material that's reflective to certain LED light, and what they'll do is it just looks kind of like gray, and you can throw it up, and you don't have to light it at all. And there's this ring that you put over the camera lens, and it turns it the perfect chroma key green or blue, depending on.
Okay, now
there's usually a switch on.
I'll tell you the two things in that whole sentence that made me go, You don't have to light it, and it turns it the perfect color. To me, that is one step away from the perfect storm of snake oil. So.
But it works. I've seen it in several different things.
You've seen it in set situations where they show you how it works.
Yes, I have. And okay, so here's also the problem with it. The key that I've seen from them, they really aren't as good as a real good, well-lit green screen.
Yeah.
They work, but...
Yeah. Well, why don't you talk about GoToMeeting, and we'll talk about in a second. We're going to talk about how to light a green screen. But until then,
GoToMeeting. That was a real smooth intro.
I know that we have a certain time frame it has to happen.
That segue was like smooth.
No, I know, but you have to have that in a certain time frame.
So right now, like Raggable, he's not here. So when we want to work on things, we can do our meetings remotely with GoToMeeting. And it's pretty cool software from Citrix, and they're giving our viewers, you guys, a super good deal if you just go to gotomeeting.com/podcast, and you can download your free 45-day trial. It's pretty cool stuff. Like, we're using it to work on Beyond the Clipping Plane right now, trying to finish up episode 6. You can have multiple people join via phone call, or you can just copy invite code and send it to them in an email, and it's really cool stuff. So give it a try. It's gotomeeting.com/podcast.
Yeah, no need to worry about rushing around. And definitely when it comes to people who are not just within the same city as you are, but in
different countries.
Let's just put it this way: there's a volcano going off somewhere in Iceland right now. There's lots of meetings that are going on that don't involve flying, purely because of GoToMeeting right now.
It works good.
I'm sorry for ruining your perfect segue into lighting. It was a great one, but I had to ruin it. All right, so when you're lighting a green screen, there are some rules. The first one is try not to light, they call it heavy modeling, which is what they give a really dark side, a really light side. If you notice, we're pretty basically flatly lit, where everything's about the same.
So if like in our key that we have right now, the dark sections of it, that's not good.
No, that's not good. But we can get around that. We didn't really take any extra time to light the green screen properly. But back over here is fine.
But yeah, so like if you one of the problems we have with like Beyond the Clipping Plane is one of the lead character wears a white shirt.
Yeah.
And it reflects the green.
Okay, so why don't we stand up and go to Oregon for a second?
Okay.
Why are we so blurry?
I don't know. Did we lose focus?
This is what I feel like on my allergy days.
And then look, I messed with the Chroma. I messed with the key, and now
wait. I can do a commercial too.
Oh.
No, you have to go to focus.
Now it's focused.
Oh. I was going to have an allergy commercial. But, okay, so that's a good example of what, things that can happen. Obviously, I've got an autofocus on this camera, which is freaking out. But when you don't have an autofocus on, you're focused on the person, not the background. When you're lighting, there's two major things you have to worry about. One is the wall has to be about 20% less in terms of intensity than the person that's being lit. So that the scale of how where everybody's at, if I'm perfectly focused and lit everything 80-90% on my camera's ability to see me, my wall needs to be at 70% or 60%. That just gives the wall a good clean aspect, no hot spots. Anybody who was watching the pre-show knows that I had to change some lighting over here because I had a hot spot that was ruining the key. Some things are forgiving. Would you turn the green off for a second? For instance, back here, all this stuff right here, the computer's doing a pretty good job. There's quite a bit of distance between me and the edge of the wall here.
So the problem we have a lot is like that light part of the wall. If you're wearing like a white shirt and there's some green that's spilling on it, that's going to key out because of the wall is also that color of green.
Yeah. Well, we can talk about that. So here's the other rule with the second largest rule besides lighting. Go ahead and turn this back on so we can. So is distance. Okay, you need to separate yourself. I cannot, as cool as it looks like I'm sitting, I cannot sit this close to the green screen and do a real green screen. Because if I have any intensity to this, that green will reflect into my hair, my eyes, my skin.
And also casting a shadow, so that
I'm
shadow.
casting a shadow. So in a good studio, you want to be 2 lengths away, which is 2 lengths the height of the person. In this one, we're about 1. I'm about 6 feet away from the wall. You need to be at least 1 away. That gives your shadow enough room to run away, and you can actually light away the shadow better. It gives me distance where I kind of feel away from it lighting-wise, so I don't have that cast coming back at me. The reflectiveness of this, despite the flat paint, is amazing. One of these days we might do something on lighting and how to just do a basic lighting setup, because one of the most effective pieces of lighting is a flat piece of foam just to bounce light back onto you. So we've got separation, and the green screen needs to be at least 20% less than what you're lighting the person. The third thing that I'm not doing today, which is something that you run into that you might, especially if you don't have any distance, the closer you get, the more important this becomes, is you need to have what we call a cutter, which is there's a light in the background somewhere that's putting an edge on me, that's helping separate me from the green screen. This eliminates some of the spill. So usually we put an amber gel on it or something like that that will change the color of the light coming at me, which will help take away the green, which will help me step away from the green screen.
A lot of people use amber. That's not red, is it?
No, amber's an orange.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, amber's an orange. So I'm trying to think if there's anything else to remember when lighting them. The nice thing is that if you do a nice flat, you can try and match the scene you're in, which is really difficult. It's more often more pleasing to the viewer to not shift positions and just have me flatly. Flat means that I have the same amount of light on the right side as I do the left side. That's appealing compared to having me really moody, where it's just I have a bright side and a dark side, and I'm kind of drama lit. Because what happens is my background doesn't match. For instance, if I put my bright light on the right hand side and you see the sun kind of shining on the objects in the background from the left hand side, your brain doesn't know what's wrong, but your brain knows there's something wrong. And as soon as you have that moment, you lose your viewer. So just remember, light it flat. We're using just basic reflectors, bouncing it in, so a nice, flat light. We're not using a backlight today, which we probably could, but we don't need it because we have some good distance. So, what else do I need to cover right now? Anything else in lighting?
I think that's pretty much it. But yeah, if you've seen our older episodes, or even some of our more recent episodes, you'll see that there's little things that are disappearing here and there. And that's because of the reflections on the laptops, or the table, and that's why we covered up the table. We did have a laptop on the table earlier, which we were having some reflection. And then with this live show, we haven't paid as much attention, but the webisodes for like Beyond the Clipping Plane and stuff do take a little bit more care, and then in post, with post-processing, you can tweak it a little bit more than when you're doing it in live.
The difference between live production and post-production is when we're doing a live, we have to ask the computer to, every second, take out all the green. When we're doing post stuff, I don't have to be nearly as careful. I can really have a standing green that's this big, and I can be sitting in it because they call it a garbage mat. I can tell the computer I key out me, and I become a floating object, and then you put me into a scene, versus I have to be in the scene kind of now. I know that doesn't make much sense, but
and then of course the whole point behind doing green screen is so you won't have to do this next step, which would be rotoscoping.
Yeah,
where you have to trace around, where you roto and you trace around everything.
Every single frame.
Yeah,
24 to 30 frames per second, however many seconds you have to go. It adds up really fast.
Yeah, and the tools have gotten a little bit better over time, and hopefully with CS5 it looks great. We'll see when it actually comes out.
If your perspective is a big deal, if you're going to be doing something and you're doing it in post, more often than not, if you can collect it from head to toe, you'll have a better range of use later on. That way, like for instance, when I'm up here, you can see my legs are cut off. If for any reason you had to put me in a different position in like a Beyond the Clipping Plane episode or something like that, I have to be someplace where I can hide my legs now. Whereas if I'm back here, or if the camera's further back and you can see my legs, my feet, I can be put all the way up close to the camera, so where you can see just my face by zooming in the video, or I can be put a mile back on a hillside, which there are plenty of web videos where a lot of them are more like medieval fight scenes, where there's like 7 guys in the entire field and there's 3,000 people fighting, and they're all the same 7 guys, but because they took them all on green screen and they fought different ways,
right,
they're putting them in the screen.
In different
places.
So that brings us to the type of compositing that we're doing. Right now we're just doing a still picture, which is just like a background plate or
this is just a wonderful Google Images picture that I just stole from somebody to use in this demonstration purposes.
And the other thing that you can do is what we're doing Beyond the Clipping Plane is where you can actually create a 3D virtual set.
Which is something that is so far above my head than...
And then you can take the elements, so you're gathering elements when you're creating of people. Or like if you watched last episode Beyond the Clipping Plane, I'll insert this in later. You'll see that they walk into the bar, and the camera is actually really far away, way bigger than where our studio is. And it comes in and it kind of pans around, and they go in. They're walking behind posts, and they go into the doorway, and the doors swing open in front of them and swing behind them. That's because I took them, I mapped them out basically to a polygon image. And they become a little 3D object inside the scene. And
once you're an object inside of a computer, you can become larger or smaller. The only thing that kills you at that point is the resolution of your original picture.
Right.
So if your resolution of your original image is at least high definition, you have quite a bit of flexibility.
And you can't really go more than maybe 15 degrees in any direction before it starts to really notice that they're basically a cardboard cutout.
Yeah, yeah. Rotating them like this, but making them bigger or smaller.
Yeah, there's no issues with that.
You can go as small as you want. Making them as big as you want, that can be kind of issues.
But the cool thing is once you get them into a 3D program, you can have them cast shadows. So
and you control the light in the shadows.
So you can so they'll look like they're in the scene. Somebody was asking, can you make this look real? Well, part of the problem is you can see all the real foliage has shadows and things that lay on the ground, and we do not.
Well, and part of the so part of the fact that we're seeing the desk and we're seeing the computers. Take a step forward, a little bit right up here. All right, so if we're up here and you didn't see anything else, I could almost fool you. Now the catch is, if I'm a piece of video, that needs to be a piece of video. Okay, if you want to pass off real. Now, and Beyond the Clipping Plane, we are in an altered universe, and we create the rules when you're in an altered universe. It's Pox's environment completely. So where the background is, that's your environment. If you're trying to pass off reality, you need to connect video to it. Real life video stream. And there's some tricks to that to make it to where this perspective thing doesn't happen. So we can go into that.
If you really want to get complicated, you can do motion control cameras.
Well,
where you shoot your background at a controlled rate, and you move the camera, and then you do it again with the actors on a green screen, and then you can composite them, and they match, which is
let's talk about let's talk about the poor boy level, because there's no way we're ever going to touch that kind of stuff. So let's say we have a film where we'll say a good portion of it, either we're not going to have the actors where we want them. We can't. This is usually the reason we can't put the actors where we want to because of danger, either bad situations. Or just too much crew, we can't permit it.
Or scheduling conflicts in our case.
Scheduling conflicts. All right, so let's say you want to have a scene that looks like you're in the national park, and you want to do a huge movie piece. And frankly, I've shot in the national parks. It's a pain in the butt. There are rules you have to apply. It's very, very expensive. So what you could do is shoot a green screen, which is... I'm going to ruin it for everybody. 90% of 24, if you love that show, guess what? They're all in LA, and they're all doing it on green screen. Okay.
It's amazing
because
how they do the cameras for
they
the cars.
don't have the budget, and no one has the budget to go to those locations, pay the permits, find the people, ship a crew, just to shoot a scene.
So they hire a guy like him to go get the background plates.
So we go get the plates. Now there's rules on getting plates. First of all, you have to know what kind of shots you want to get. So, for instance, right now, if I was the shooter and Poxy were the, my stand-in subject, and I knew that I had certain scenes I wanted to get. If I wanted to get this particular scene of what we call a long shot, where you can see pretty much the knees up, I want to measure the distance from you to my camera, okay? And I'm going to write that down. So right now we're about 10 feet. We'll just estimate 10 feet. I'm going to get you, as my helper on the shoot, to stand about 10 feet away. I'm going to focus on you, and I'm going to kind of frame with the camera how I want to see that shot. Because I'm framing to the background, okay? And at 10 feet away, and then guess what? You're going to walk out, okay? I record 5 minutes just to give us plenty of time, plenty of things to do. And then when I get back in the studio, now every single shot that has to do with that, if I have different camera angles, if two people are having a conversation, I need to have all that kind of stuff mapped out. So we do lots of storyboarding, we do lots of pre-production planning, and like for instance, this setup right here, both of us, we'd be having a scene where I just had the background being shot. Every camera gets the same thing, whether it be a close-up, everything else, all this stuff written down. When I go into the studio, camera, same lens, roughly the same height. We want to record the height of the camera, all this stuff. We write all this stuff down, and we come back to the studio. We put the camera in the same height, we put the same lens on, and we put the actor in the same spot, and they do their scene from there. That means everything in the background, perspective-wise, is exactly the same as where I shot it.
So that's how you make it look real.
Yeah, and it will not, guaranteed, you're not going to notice. Because your brain doesn't disconnect. The only time you have a disconnect is if somehow I shoot it at really early morning, where we have really bright sunlight on one side and I'm not doing the same thing. But when I have a scene like that and I start recording still images and things like that of the scene with my guest subject that's not really the actor, I can do modeling, lighting scenarios, and I don't have to make it up. When you have a still image that you just pull off the internet, you make it up. So that's basically everything that, for the poor man's green screen, basics on green screen, and, go out and have some fun. The best thing you can do is just try it. Most editing programs have some green screen functionality, and every camera is a little bit different. We can't recommend a camera. Just record the highest quality you can.
Yeah. Well, actually, there is some differences in cameras and green screen.
Absolutely.
There's a really nice confusing thing called color space.
Yeah, we won't. That's the whole lot of stuff. So there's lots of differences between them.
And it's probably something we'll get into in another episode.
If you're looking at buying a camera for green screen, do the research. If you have a camera and want to try green screen, try it. That's the best thing to say, because you can do some research on your camera and see how it works. Some cameras do okay, some cameras do horrible. So.
All right, so we'll see you guys next week. If you want more help on this, you can go to our website, twosmartguys.com, and go to the forums. And there will be a section on green screen in here, and I'll be answering questions, and we'll check back and see if you have any thing.
Yeah. Or you can, you could always try it. You could really try hard to get us on Twitter.
Yeah, I am Walking Crow, at Walking Crow.
And I am at Tommy5C.
What else? This live show, next week, every Wednesday night, 9:30 Pacific time, and we're here, Justin TV, doing our live thing.
12:30 Eastern time.
Yeah. So this edited show is about 20 minutes to a half an hour, but the live show goes on for about 3 hours. Our setup, the actual show, and then we chat for a while. So
yeah, come chat with us.
See you guys next week.
This has been a Two Smart Guys production.
Here we come.
We warned you. We warned you good. I'm wearing glasses. Damn. But the key weld, right?
They're fine.
Okay.
You're such a girl about your glasses.
I'm getting old. I can't wear contacts anymore.